Bernie Sanders has been around for a while now and has had many memorable moments over the years. But today, we wanted to take a look at some of his best from recent history and look at what made them so special. So, let's get right into the video. At the most recent Democratic debate, we saw the debut of Mike Bloomberg, and Bernie Sanders made sure to give him a warm welcome and show Bloomberg why he is leading the race, while also making sure to fact-check the moderator's questions.
Senator Sanders, in our latest NBC News Wall Street Journal poll released yesterday, 2/3 of all voters said they were uncomfortable with a socialist candidate for president. What do you say to those voters, sir?
What was the result of that poll? Who was winning?
The question's to you.
Well, the question was that I was winning, and I think by a fairly comfortable margin. Might mention that. But here is the point. Let's talk about democratic socialism, not communism, Mr. Bloomberg. That's a cheap shot. Let's talk about democratic. Let's talk about what goes on in countries like Denmark, where Pete correctly pointed out they have a much higher quality of life in many respects than we do. What are we talking about? We are living in many ways in a socialist society right now. Problem is, as Dr. Martin Luther King reminded us, we have socialism for the very rich, rugged individualism for the poor.
Wait a second.
Let me finish. When Donald Trump gets $800 million in tax breaks and subsidies to build luxury condominiums, that's socialism for the rich. When Walmart, we have to subsidize Walmart's workers who are on Medicaid and food stamps because the wealthiest family in America pays starvation wages. That's socialism for the rich. I believe in democratic socialism for working people, not billionaires. Health care for all, educational opportunity for all.
Senator, thank you. Mayor Bloomberg, would you like the question was about socialism.
What a wonderful country we have. The best-known socialist in the country happens to be a millionaire with 3 houses. What did I miss here?
Well, you'll miss that I work in Washington, House 1.
That's the first problem.
Live in Burlington, House 2.
That's good.
And like thousands of other Vermonters, I do have a summer camp. Forgive me for that. Where is your home? Which tax haven do you have your home?
New York City, thank you very much. And I pay.
Pete Buttigieg and Sanders often go back and forth on the debate stage, so it was no surprise that when Pete sent a shot at both Bloomberg and Sanders, that Sanders wouldn't let it slide.
Yes, we've got to wake up as a party. We could wake up 2 weeks from today, the day after Super Tuesday, and the only candidates left standing will be Bernie Sanders and Mike Bloomberg, the two most polarizing figures on this stage. And most Americans don't see where they fit if they've got to choose between a socialist who thinks that capitalism is the root of all evil and a billionaire who thinks that money ought to be the root of all power. Let's put forward somebody who actually lives and works in a middle-class neighborhood in an industrial Midwestern city. Let's put forward somebody who's actually a Democrat. Look. We shouldn't have to choose between one candidate who wants to burn this party down and another candidate who wants to buy this party out. Look, we can do better.
Senator Sanders, are you polarizing?
If speaking to the needs and the pain of a long-neglected working class is polarizing, I think you got the wrong word. What we are trying finally to do is to give a voice to people who after 45 years of work are not making a nickel more than they did 45 years ago. We are giving a voice to people who are saying we are sick and tired of billionaires like Mr. Bloomberg seeing huge expansions of their wealth while 500,000 people sleep out on the street tonight. And that's so what we are saying, Pete, is maybe it's a time for the working class of this country to have a little bit of power in Washington rather than your billionaire campaign contributors.
All right, look, first of all,
I know. It's okay, bro.
Look, my campaign is...
While responding to a tweet from President Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders gives an amazing response and shows that Bernie wants what is best for the working class of America.
America, this is the president, America will never be a socialist country. Will that hold true if you're elected president?
If I am elected president,
we will have a nation in which all people have health care as a right, whether Trump likes it or not. We are going to make public colleges and universities tuition free. We are going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage of at least $15 an hour. And whether Trump likes it or not, when I talk about human rights, you know what that also means? It means that our kids and grandchildren have the human right to grow up in a planet that is healthy and habitable. And it is really a disgrace and an embarrassment that we have a president who rejects science, who does not even understand that climate change is real and caused by human activity, who does not understand what this planet will look like in years to come if we do not go forward boldly and transform our energy system away from fossil fuels.
Let's continue with climate change right now.
While sitting down with artist and celebrity Cardi B, Bernie Sanders goes in depth on racial inequality in America and what can be done to help solve it.
And you know what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to advocate the youth in my community because I feel like there's a serious problem right now in America. We have this bully as a president, and the only way to take him out is somebody winning.
You know, we got to get rid of Donald Trump, obviously, because Donald Trump is an overt racist. He's way out there.
But right now, people are just not scared to show it.
Yes.
And we constantly see on social media police brutality against black men and against minorities. What are we going to do to change that? Because that is discouraging our people. It's discouraging us to fight. It makes us feel like we're worthless. We constantly see a man getting killed every day, and it seems like nobody cares, nobody's sympathizing, nobody's talking about it.
Obviously, we need to end all forms of racism in this country, from Donald Trump down to the local police department. We have something like 1 out of 4 young black men in this country end up in the criminal justice system. They may end up in jail, they may end up on parole, they may end up in probation, whatever it is. That is disgusting and beyond belief. All right. So, first thing we do is we make sure that young people in this country, black and Latino, Native American, whoever they may be, get the kind of education and job training they need so they can go out and get good jobs. We have to invest in jobs and education, not more jails and incarceration. Second of all, in terms of police brutality, if a police officer kills somebody, that killing must be investigated by the United States Department of Justice. Number 3, we at the federal level make sure, do everything that we can to make sure that police departments look like the communities that they serve, not like an oppressive army.
During this second Democratic debate, the moderators asked Bernie Sanders for a response to John Delaney's claim that Bernie's healthcare plan is bad policy, and Bernie Sanders' response left Delaney speechless.
Let's start the debate with the number one issue for Democratic voters, healthcare. And Senator Sanders, let's start with you. You support Medicare for all, which would eventually take private health insurance away from more than 150 million Americans in exchange for government-sponsored health care for everyone. Congressman Delaney just referred to it as bad policy, and previously he has called the idea political suicide that will just get President Trump reelected. What do you say to Congressman Delaney?
You're wrong. Right now, we have a dysfunctional health care system, 87 million uninsured or underinsured, $500,000 Americans every year going bankrupt because of medical bills, 30,000 people dying while the healthcare industry makes tens of billions of dollars in profit. 5 minutes away from here, John, is a country. It's called Canada. They guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child as a human right. They spend half of what we spend. And by the way, when you end up in a hospital in Canada, you come out with no bill at all. Health care is a human right, not a privilege. I believe that. I will fight for that.
Thank you, Senator Sanders. Congressman Delaney?
That wraps up the video. If you enjoyed it, Make sure to subscribe and drop a like so we can keep making content like this. But with that being said, thanks for watching and have a nice day, folks.